goes this way. So for both sides, it's tough to scout on both sides, both ends of it. So
Yeah, I hear you. So we're gonna be chatting a little bit throughout the game,
Mic
and
check 1 2 1 2. Welcome inside
we'll
Reno
probably
Nevada
talk a good
Field,
amount about
where
not soccer
professional soccer has its
during this
only
as
home
well.
across the entire
Um,
United States.
tough to scout on both sides, both ends of it. So
Here tonight, we'll see
but
LA Galaxy 2
this is
against Reno
something for
1868.
us,
LA
and
Galaxy 2
we're
brought a
gonna
very
be
youthful team here to Greater
chatting a
Nevada
little
Field.
bit, have some success. So Chris, talk to me about obviously, we've both gotten to know the grounds crew pretty well. We see the sprinklers going off here. Talk to me about the grounds a little bit.
the grounds. I mean, over the I've been fortunate enough to be part of the transition to actually see like where it started. I mean, I was part of a team that played the first game there before 1868 actually stepped foot on on the pitch at Greater Nevada Field. So I remember one of the first times walking out there and look out there with a goalkeeper, and he goes, "Coach,
On the
I
eve
want you
of
to
our
look at something."
nation's
So I line
independence,
up to where
only
he's
one
at.
professional soccer
He goes, "Look at the
match
other posts."
at any level
And so we look
will
at
be
it,
played across the United
and the
States.
posts
It's
were
happening
off-centered
tonight
off each other.
in northern Nevada. Welcome
So
to
we
the
counted the
biggest
size
little
of the
city
18
inside
in
Greater
relation to the
Nevada
touch
Field
lines.
as the
But I mean,
1868
that was like the
Football
first
Club
game ever,
welcomes
right? And then now
first
it's
the LA Galaxy
obviously
2 for a United Soccer League
a
showdown.
really nice
Hey
playing
everybody,
surface,
alongside
and
Colin
it's
Tabor,
come a long ways. And
I'm
credit to
Alex
the grounds crew
Margulies.
that
Colin, Reno coming
they've
off of
really
a
taken in
0-0 draw on
the
Friday
pride
against the
and put it
Phoenix
together
Rising. They get a
to
point
make
out of
it
that
as
match,
much of
and
a
depending
soccer
on how you
field
look
as
at it,
possible.
on one hand, you could be disappointing to not
What
score and only come away with a draw
what
here
do you
at home.
see from
But on the
a
other side,
so
playing
I
a
know one of
world-class
these last ones
striking
that
talent
we were
like
going
Didier
back and
Drogba
forth
and
on
Omar
when you were
Bravo.
chatting one of
Pretty
these last
impressive for Reno to come away
rebroadcasts
with
that
a
we
clean
did.
sheet.
Yeah, I think both Reno
We
1868
happened to go
Phoenix
through a
Rising
lot of
can
different
look
color
back and be both
commentators on the
disappointed
TV
and happy
broadcast
that
side
they
of
walked
things,
away with
but
a point. It was a
Alex
hard-fought game.
Margulies has been
Both teams played really well.
a
We'll have a
dude
full
who
preview of our
has stayed
action
consistent with
tonight
us,
as
and
Reno
obviously
takes on LA.
pretty big
We'll have
local
that in a
face with
second segment, but
NSN
first, let's take a look
and
back
the
at what
such.
happened in that Friday night action against
From a
Phoenix
broadcast
here
point
at
of
Greater
view,
Nevada
I
Field.
know you mentioned, I think it was
And
a
what
Portland
a night
game,
it was in front of
where you said,
7,000 fans.
you'll
This is at the very
listen,
beginning
you won't
of the
listen
match.
to the broadcast at first when you're doing video
a very
analysis, and then
exciting talent
you
to
will.
see in Northern Nevada. What a
What's
treat
your
it was
thought
for the
behind
fans
that?
to see a world-class striker
Because I find
like
that interesting. And I guess does
Drogba's
the broadcaster
in
ever
his
bring
day
up
was one of the
anything that
best
you wouldn't have
players in the
thought of?
world, and he still has.
Being a former
he might not have
broadcaster
the legs
myself.
he used to, but as we saw on Friday
Mostly
night,
like the
he's still a
injury
very good
reports,
player.
Dane Kelly came into the action.
knacks like that.
Second leading scorer in the
why is
USL with
so
12 goals,
you don't
but
hurt, or like
surprisingly
if a player goes
held
down,
without
you
an
can't clear cut
opportunity.
say, okay,
He
well, that's
did have some
definitely a knee or
opportunities,
that's a
held without a
hamstring.
goal. But Reno certainly had
Usually
their
a little
fair
bit
amount
later
of
in the
chances.
game, they'll
Really,
come back
both
and say,
teams had
we
chances
heard that
to find the back of the net. They just
A,
couldn't
B,
do
and C
it.
players are
Yeah, and I
out
think a
because
lot
of
of
this
credit
or
can
that,
go to
or
both keepers, Matt Persano and Josh
sometimes
Cohen
they'll give you
both had
insight that
outstanding games in
the
goal.
scouting report
Josh Cohen
won't
in particular
necessarily
made a few
have, but
huge saves.
sometimes it's
Especially seeing the penalty kick coming up.
you're watching the
Persano
game.
with a
Sometimes you
great
just get the
save there. He made
frustrations
that
of
look
like
easy, which he did all
that
throughout
person
the
doesn't know what
night.
they're talking
Yeah,
about,
Matt
especially if
Persano,
it's
the
if it's a
24-year-old
replay
from
of our
Tempe,
game.
Arizona, his
And it's
fifth
opposing
clean sheet in
an
a
opposing
Reno
commentator,
1868 uniform.
whether it's play by play
Pretty
or color.
impressive. He's made 10 starts now. He's allowed 15 goals.
And
there's been some
it's
competition
always
at
interesting.
that
Sometimes you get
goalkeeping
so
spot,
caught
and
up
Persano
in what the
certainly
commentators are
has
saying
been
rather than
up
what's
to
actually
the
going on the
challenge
screen. So that's what I
at
like to
times.
do.
Matt
Both.
LaGrassa, what can we say about this
And
guy? He just
especially if there's
has an
certain
absolute
parts that,
nose for the football,
let's say I'll mark it
and
and say in the
showed it
20th
in that
minute if they
match on
so-and-so went
Friday.
down.
Pat LaGrassa is so good
They
at breaking
did make a
up play.
sub at
Anytime
minute 30
feels like they can get a
for
break,
that player.
Matt
What was
LaGrassa's there
the
to put a stop to it,
reason?
and he keeps that
Is there any
pressure high. He
insight
wins the
that they
ball
might have
in
put
the
together,
defense's
especially
own
if the team
half,
has
and he's able to
or
keep
a broadcast as a
60
sideline
on the
reporter?
front
Then that
foot.
obviously changes the
Still moving through the
scope.
first half here. Again, opportunities for Reno. There
Makes
was
sense.
LaGrassa.
How about from
opportunities for
we're
Reno. Got a
watching
little love from
we haven't
Drogba
quite
afterwards.
gotten to the throwback
And
yet.
Dane Kelly, one of his best chances at goal
but
there.
we're seeing
A good
some
deflection by
highlights
Phoenix,
from
able to give Cohen
should
an
know this
opportunity to
because
take one more
was
look
with
there.
the
Nice
club in
move there
2017,
by Kelly,
but
but
I'm
just couldn't
assuming
find
this
the back
is
of the net.
the game
Yeah,
prior
we saw
to
him score a
Phoenix-
similar goal
Phoenix 18.
against
Yeah, the Phoenix game.
Phoenix in the
How
last
from
run, last
I
run,
know
he cut it back and then put it
obviously
into the
video
far
analysis
post,
is a big part of what
Josh
you do.
Cohen did well there.
What from a
Still in the
a
first half of
soccer
action here,
standpoint,
and
when you're about
this
to
match
play a team,
Although
You
0-0,
know,
had a
how
lot of
far
exciting
back do
moments.
you
There's
go
Bersano stepping in with a punch
for
away.
and
I mean, it
and what do
really
you
was
compare
exciting
from
from start to
teams
finish.
prior
And finally,
matches?
here's
How
Kelly's
many matches
opportunity
do
on the
you
penalty kick.
go
And I
back,
know
and does
when you were
that
talking
does it
about this
depend who the
after,
opponent
if
is?
you're Reno, you're really going to
And
look
how
back
far
at this game
back
and
in
remember
terms of
that
like
penalty kick and
years and
think what
personnel
was.
for the
Yeah,
actual
absolutely.
team
We see
do
Dane
you
Kelly,
go back
he
that you're
favors
facing
that
that
bottom
game
left
as
corner,
well?
and I think
Well, I
goalkeepers
mean,
know
if
that
it's
by now.
a,
Because out of his 6
it
penalties
depends
he's
on the
taken,
opponent. You know, like
3 have only 3
we'll
have
just
gone
use
in. One, of course, he
since
scored on the
Phoenix,
rebound right
it's a
after, so
Phoenix
you can
replayer
technically say
highlights on
4,
this. You know,
but his last 2
we
have
know
been
Rick
misses.
Shantz
So
has a certain
he'll want
style.
to do better on that, but he's such a
You know,
good
the
goal scorer that it doesn't
players
matter.
that they have are pretty consistent. You know, a few additions, but so finding games to scout on them aren't too difficult because you kind of know their natural characteristics. But also, you know, things coming into play is like the conditions of the game. You know, is it completely just downpour or complete snow, or um, was the field destroyed? You know, anything that can change the play, then obviously those games really don't matter as much. And then if a team's just sitting back, let's say they just, you know, they sat back the whole time and we don't necessarily get to see the team in its natural environment, then obviously we try to find games that show a little bit more of the truth to their style and to their personalities at play. You know, you get good teams like Phoenix and Monarchs that they try to play no matter who they're playing, and so I think for them it's an easier scout as far as like, you know, the teams that are consistent with what they want to try to achieve.
Got it. It's funny. Now that I'm thinking about this, pretty sure this is the DDA Drogba match. If I'm not mistaken. It's when Drogba was in the league.
Yeah, that's him right there.
Yep. Yeah, in 2017. How cool was that? I mean, just from a coaching standpoint, how the heck do you even coach against that?
Well, I was fortunate to actually experience Didier twice. We actually had him training in Sacramento with us when I was in SAC, when he was with still Montreal, because I believe their first like 4 or 5 games in MLS were going to be on turf, and he had some sort of injury or a protocol that wasn't going to be playing on turf so early in the year. So he actually spent 2.5 weeks with us in Sacramento and kind of got to know him a little bit as a person. And, you know, he was class. He was class when he came in. Treated everybody with respect, and then you know, obviously as a player, it's you got to respect the guy for what he's done. You know, he's probably one of the most accomplished players that most of the guys in our league will probably ever play against or have played against. And then that opportunity that obviously the Phoenix coaching staff had to work with a player like him is obviously it's an opportunity, and knowing some of the guys there, that, you know, it was obviously an enjoyable time, you know, with being able to work with someone of that level and experience, and obviously personality. So um, I think it's good for our game, good for our league, good for the game in the United States overall.
It's going to be my next question of just the you know, Ibras of the world, and what your thought is on that, of, you know, those guys who might have been past their the main stages in their careers, if you will, overseas. Everyone, I feel like, has a different opinion on that. I feel like we might align based on your last comments, in terms of my thought on it, but just curious of what yours is.
As far as guys coming over to play in Major League Soccer,
yeah,
I think it's great for the game. I mean, you saw what David Beckham did for the league, and the growth of the game in the United States. You saw what Keane did when he came over. You know, obviously, Zlatan. I mean, he's class. He's still class. You know, when people say that, you know, he's coming over and he's washed up, he's not washed up. I mean, look what he did. I mean, yeah, he didn't win a MLS Cup or anything like that, but my goodness, you want us to talk about, you know, world class. I mean, that's world class. I mean, he came in and he bossed games. I mean, I still remember watching that first game when, you know, comes off the bench and hits that volley. It's still world beater that he stuck. You know, it's I think every player has something to contribute. You know, some players are meant to contribute when they're younger. Some are meant to contribute when they're more seasoned. I see nothing wrong with players coming at different points of their career. I think it's important. I think obviously those are known players, known names throughout the globe, and so I think any chance that they get to come and whether it's work with alongside players that are in the league. I know that they've made impacts in knowing some guys in the league that have been in the same locker room as Latan, as guys like Ashley Cole, Keen, Beckham, guys that shared locker rooms with them. The thing that they've said the most is that they realize what it takes to become that at that level, and it's and so those guys still have things to offer. Maybe we don't see it on a Saturday at a stadium, but I think if it helps 2 or 3 guys in that locker room, that makes those 2 or 3 guys better, that contribute to, let's say, our league, then it's serving a purpose. And so I think it's important that fans, coaches, and players realize it's more than just, oh, this guy's coming over and he's just here to collect the check. Well, no, I think there's a lot of things that players like that can contribute to the game within the United States, and I think it's important that we continue to facilitate that environment for young players and more seasoned players at the same time.
It's great. Well, hey, listen, I didn't expect to have a whole pregame show that we had to fill. But we do.
Hey, it's maybe those guys at NSN maybe look to add another voice on the show if they need. I can
right. Yeah,
for baseball game. I wish there was basketball games to call.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, listen, you've you're obviously one of to me at least, probably one of the more outgoing, front-facing coaches that exists within certainly the league, but probably a lot of levels. I think in terms of fan interaction and such like that. Have you thought about what a future broadcast career would look like?
Oh, I would love to actually. I would love a broadcasting opportunity. I would love to call a game. I would love to call a game. Basketball. I'm a big basketball fan, so I would love to call a basketball game if I ever given the opportunity. I would jump on it in a heartbeat.
So I don't know if we've caught up much about this, but that's where I started my career, and somehow I've transitioned to this. But I used to do play-by-play for baseball, basketball, a little bit of soccer, and mostly on the radio, a little bit of TV. But it's crazy, man, of how there's so much work that goes into broadcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, just the research and certainly the stats that you have to have on the tip of your tongue at any given moment, but also the vocabulary, switching that up, the description, setting the scene, resetting what's occurring in the game. I mean, there's so many different moving parts, and every sport's different, obviously. Right? Basketball, a lot more action compared to baseball, which is very much a storytelling type of broadcast, similar to soccer. It's a little bit more of a storytelling broadcast, but it's crazy. I mean, these guys who are at the professional ranks they're really good.
Hey, it looks like we've got some guys that are in the chat here on the YouTube. DJ,
sweet,
and Matt are here. They both said hello.
What's going on, guys? We miss you.
Oh, and then DJ did bring up a point when Blanco was playing for Chicago. Obviously, that was another
that's right
name to come through to the United States from Mexico, from Club America. So he filled stadiums, and I think that's so important to remember. That's
right.
Again, all these players, maybe they're not all named David Beckham or Zlatan, but they do. Players that have played globally have fans, and they're going to bring more fans out, So thanks for the reminder, DJ, on Blanco. I know you've got every Chicago Fire stat probably written up somewhere in your residence. Probably every day they played, you probably have a note about it.
So this fun fact: the guy who is singing the national anthem, which of course we're no means not giving respect to, but it's Mike Alger. He is he's the weatherman. I'm pretty sure he still is, if I'm not mistaken, for Channel 2 News. Who'd have thunk, man? Like, you're a weatherman. You could sing. like you, coach, broadcast. Guess that's maybe a little bit more correlated, but he's good. He likes to do. I think he's done the 3rd of July for us for all 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of turned into a consistent thing.
So we only got Matt and DJ on here. See if we can get more people. They should call all their buddies to get on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike Munoz. I just text messaging him a couple weeks ago or last week.
We happy to take questions, by the way, whether it's on Twitch or Twitter or YouTube, of course. So we're happy to answer any questions that come up as well. Chris, so what the heck has been going on like with the guys? Talk to me a little bit about that, of what the team's doing.
We actually just had another meeting today. We have frequent interactions, as many interactions as possible. Obviously, everybody's in the same situation, so everything's by Zoom, text messages, things like that. So we keep the guys training, give them some individual training plans. We got a good strength and conditioning coach that is working with them, and then it's the guys are not taking this as time off. The guys are taking this time as something. It's important to stay focused, to stay fit, so that when we do go back to playing, when we get back on the field as a team, there's not a lot to have to do to close the gap. So the guys are engaged. They're doing some video stuff. They're doing some, like I said, some individual fitness stuff from within their own residences. I'm checking in daily. They're doing wellness checks, and they're doing some yoga, some strength stuff, some running. So our guys are definitely busy. They're just obviously not in the same place, which we all miss the most. But I think with the circumstances, the guys are respecting the stay-at-home orders and making sure that everyone's safe, but also they're doing the best they can to stay as fit as possible. So like I said, when the time comes, we get back into that locker room, get back on the field, and it's like we haven't missed a beat.
It's probably, let alone for me, for you, of course, Ian, it's probably as difficult for for Luis more than anybody, right? From a strength conditioning, putting together plans, like not actually seeing and being able to, directly feel what's going on. Like that's gotta be hard.
Well, some of the workouts are done as a group, so they're actually doing like Zoom workouts. So he can spot what they're doing, and we're doing presentations by way of Zoom and things like that. And so we're trying to make it as interactive as possible, rather than just like, here's your packet of homework, go do it. Because
kickoff.
Oh, here we go.
Let's go. That was, first crack at a pregame show. Not too shabby, Chris. DJ's got a question. It looks like, do we anticipate a second preseason or simply training sessions before the season starts up again? It's a good question.
I think right now, they're looking at obviously the calendar there, but I think the most important thing is they're looking at, one, to get the game playing as quickly as possible, but also making sure the players are safe. So I think that's the best way to look at it. I know that the safety of the players is one of the most important things that the league is looking to address. So it'll probably be somewhere between the two.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think any conversations I've been a part of, it hasn't. Listen, there's no, I don't think, direct answers. But at the same time, it'd be interesting. That balance of training sessions to potential games being played in the preseason. I'd imagine if I had to go out and throw out a number, we'd be looking at some sort of 3 to 5 week tune-up period. What that looks like from training sessions to potential games would be, I think, the next step and the next level. But I think that could depend on how much how much potentially of the season we're talking about, what month we're in, to be frank, are we, what month are we talking about? And is there an extension to the season? There's just so many unknowns. I think that's probably been the most frustrating part on everybody's end, right? For all sports. Obviously, we're not the only club that's going through this, or any, only sport that's going through it by any means.
So
Matt Rafferty, how likely is the split conference season that's been floated by the league? Did you see the Athletic article that was dropped today, Chris?
Yeah, saw that.
Oh yeah, I think you sent that to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm the one that sent it. I think there's so many different scenarios that the league is looking at that I think it's realistic, right? I don't think anything's out of the question. I think the tough thing is a timeline, and obviously the timeline will determine the way that the season is played. Obviously we want to play as many games as possible, just like the fans want to see. But I think from a coaching and player standpoint, I think it's important to make sure that everyone is able to play in a safe calendar. Because obviously that doesn't help the players or the fans either, as if guys are getting hurt easily. There's our first goal. 2 minutes 56 seconds in.
I don't think that was even. I think that was the own goal, if I'm not mistaken.
It's still a goal.
Right. It's funny. There was a Team PR put out a tweet about there were six players that scored in this game.
6 boys in blue and one in white.
One in white. That happens to be the one in white, I think.
Yeah. Good ball, Brent Richards into the channel. Into Dane Kelly across, and it was like Antoine Hoppino was trying to take credit for that, but I don't blame him.
Was that Antoine though? Hey, not even just Antoine. I shouldn't say that. It's every goal scorer, right?
Fun fact with Antoine Hoppino, 2014 when we won the championship in Sacramento, Antoine was on the losing end of that team. So let's see, Kevin Bass, most lopsided score you've been a part of as a coach.
Let's talk about both sides there, though, Chris. On the winning side and losing side.
I know there's a pickup game probably like 3 months ago that it's probably like a 20-2 shellacking that I was part of. Pickup indoor soccer.
It had a ref, so that counts, right? It had a ref.
No, there's 22 guys on the field, 22 referees. There was a high school game that I coached that I know we had scored double digits. That's probably the most. At the pro level or college level, I don't think any game's been more than 4 or 5 that I've been part of. So loss is like 3 or 4, I think. It's the most of it as far as lopsidedness between a college and or pro games.
So this was obviously a shocker. I mean, we were talking a little bit before coming on that I don't want to say it was expected to be a shocker, but 9's a lot, no matter who you're playing against. But certainly Galaxy was up against some challenges in terms of the age of their lineup rollout, if you will, and their experience within this one. And they had struggled coming in. I think they were 3-10-2, if I'm not mistaken, coming into this one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Somewhere around there. Because this was about halfway into the season, right?
Yep.
What is this? Let's see. Matt says plenty more to come. Yeah. I think there's 8 more. If I did the math correctly.
That happens to be correct.
Let's see. And then Kevin Bass, whoa, Doug, at me next time.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, we should just at him on Twitter.
Should. That's probably your most active game, right? Twitter game. You Instagram too, though, right?
Yeah,
Facebook?
Graham.
No, not really.
No, I don't. I only have like a coaching page on Facebook. Look at that. Oh, look at Brent Richards there. Well done. Who's that played it over? Is that Jordan Morrell? Is that the ball?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, LaGrassa.
Brent Richards.
Reno regains possession, gives it back to Richards, who sends it to his center back, Jimmy Ockford. Chris Wehan now.
If I'm not mistaken, a Dane Kelly goal is about to come up.
Kelly strikes it in.
I think you're right.
Kelly.
It's because I just read that somewhere.
So you're cheating. Wehan. Yeah, there he goes.
Oh, there he goes.
Nice.
Dane Kelly had quite a few of those that year. Quite a few goals.
Sure did.
I remember. So I remember I was at a combine when I saw Ian before this 2017 season, and the announcement that Dane Kelly just signed in Reno. I think it was like that morning or the day before. I was like, oh man, oh, he's not messing around. He's putting some players together on this field. So that is one thing is that before I came into Reno in 2018, that entire year before I was able to build a relationship and get to know Ian, he did a lot of homework. He did a lot of homework to put together that first team and continues to do a lot of homework. The amount of work that he put into to field that 2017 team, and then that he puts into, to make sure that every stone is looked under is absolutely amazing. And I think a lot of times you get the coaches that come from MLS or other leagues that jump into USL think, oh, I'm just gonna, as a coach, just by myself, I'm gonna tear it up without necessarily doing the homework. You see them, they struggle, but Ian's one of the ones that didn't let that MLS experience just let him go. Okay, I'm just gonna step in. I'm gonna outcoach every coach, and we're just gonna win every game. He obviously went through that first year, went through some bumps the first 5 or 6 games, and then after that, you saw the players that he signed with intent to do some work, and this group here that's on the field against the Galaxies really showed it. So a lot of good players on that team right now on the field. Let's see, we got some questions. Can we make the entire season? No, we're not going to do that. That wouldn't be any fun, DJ.
We don't want to win every game, right? Psych.
Who's the
Yeah, we
best
do.
striker in the USL that I've ever seen and coached? Huh. One that I've coached. That's a tough one because I've seen the league grow through so many. I've actually, fun fact, I've been through 3 rebrands of the league in 7 seasons.
That's crazy.
When I first went in, it was USL Pro. Then we became USL. And then now it's obviously USL Championship. So 3 rebrands within the course of 7 years that I've been in there. So with that, it's DJ. I think it's a tough question to really answer. There's so many players that have made so many different impacts in the game. I'd say Cameron Iwasa, probably one of the best ones that, as far as the work that he's put in when I was in Sacramento, when we first got him after he was drafted and then not signed to Major League Soccer contract. He put in a lot of work. And so it's, one of the things that I've heard someone say in regards to sports is it's not what you do during that first off season, it's what you do for the 3 years going into that off season. So I can definitely attest to the amount of work that Cameron put in before he actually became the big goal scorer that he is. Best striker in the USL. Obviously Dane Kelly. I mean, his numbers have shown it. Corey Herzog, his numbers have shown it. So it's tough. What a ball.
Jordan Morrell, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jordan.
great ups too there. Great ball.
Yeah, and that was a really dangerous part. That definitely was in every scouting report I put together about Reno. Was Chris Wehan? Don't give up free kicks, and it's still in the back of my head. I see it that great goal that he scored in Sacramento, a free kick off the post that he just smashed. And even though I was on the wrong side of that one, having been on Sacramento that year that he scored that, that's where I disagree with commentators. I like Rob over there in Sacramento, but he said that it barely went in. No, it smashed the post. I think the post is still ringing from when Chris hit that 4 seasons ago.
Well, I mean, that's kind of Sac's job, isn't it? Though.
What's that?
I mean, anyone, broadcaster or not, right, who represents them, to give a little slight to Reno. That's at least what I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's all fun, right? Like as long as it's nothing personal, right? It's just gotta. But that's the reason I don't like watching the broadcast or listen to the broadcast, is because of fun stuff.
When you saw, obviously Chris has moved on to New Mexico. When you saw him with New Mexico United, I mean, similar qualities, or do you think year by year he's kind of grown as a person as he moved on to a different direction within the league?
Oh, I think the reason like Chris Wehan is still playing in the league is that he's definitely grown. Obviously 2017 he was rookie of the year. Obviously the amount of assists he had. But I think a player they're not in the league for 4 years, whether it's USL or Major League Soccer or both, without learning, right? So I think it's clear that we're not the only ones that see it, but he believes in himself. He's seen what he needs to do better, what he needs to change, and what he looks for in an environment. So I think he's definitely grown as a player and as a person. I think that's the only way that you stay relevant in the game, and you can make a career out of it. You see guys that maybe things don't go their way the first year or whatever the case is, and they're out within a two or 3 years, and because it's not something that they're recognizing of what can I control, what can I change, how can I make my game better, how can I be a better guy in the locker room. So I think Chris Wehan's checked all the boxes as far as taking his experiences and becoming a better player for himself to allow him to continue to do this.
JFast60, thanks for joining on YouTube. Said barely in counts the same as all net. Not a truer statement, right? If it goes in, it goes in.
That's fair. Yeah.
USL's changed the dress code a little bit, huh? Funny seeing Ian wearing what he's wearing.
Yeah, polo, team issue top, right? You could wear a team issue top and some slacks.
Certainly. I guess I should say Ian has definitely changed in that regard, right? No, not much polo wear you see anymore.
No, ever since they started giving those awards for best dressed, I think it's important. I think I think it changed.
Well, we both know that neither you or I have a chance at that one. So,
yeah, there's no chance I ever get best dressed.
Yeah, I just got my notification for Duolingo. I don't know if I should do Spanish lessons while on this though.
We should have rehearsed this, and we could have done like part of the broadcast in Spanish.
You would have to find a new number 2, I think, Chris. You might be able to do that, but I'm still on level 1.
Well, I think we could have pulled it off.
No. Hola. Boleto.
Let's just talk about the bench. How much that's changed over the last 4 years, as far as like the folding chairs and aluminum bench. I mean, that's big time, right?
Yep. I mean, listen, there's been a lot that has changed rules wise in regard to that. I mean, specific amount of feet that field boards need to be away from the sideline, where field boards are placed, which was a change that was coming into 2020 here, going sideline where you see it now, and then also full end lines as well. So a lot of stuff. Obviously, it's revenue opportunity at the same time, but
Another player that's
there's a lot of changes.
there's another player that was on the screen that just kind of has continued to create opportunities for himself, Jimmy Ockford. Again, a guy that's played at various levels and has sustained a playing career. I think a guy that's played and learned from each year. So it's good to see guys like that obviously go on. We obviously love to see all these guys, stay within the pipeline, but some of these, as long as they're going and they realize that the common factor there was they came through the 775.
Exactly. Funny with Jimmy, he actually went to. Wow, it was a windy day that day. Huh? I don't recall that. He went to. I hope I'm not mistaken on this. He went to Mount St. Mary's, which is out in Maryland, in Emmitsburg, Maryland, for his first year, and they shut down their men's soccer program. So after that, he ended up going to Louisville and had a great career there. But it's funny, Mount St. Mary's probably about 20 minutes ish or so down the road from where I went to school, which is a small Division III college called Hood College. So we got to know that area pretty well. So we got to catch up a good amount about that. But I can't imagine, man. Like, obviously being a D1 player, I was D3, but going through a shutdown of a program and having to sort of reinvent yourself and move to a new location, new institution, learning all that stuff, let alone new coaching and all that stuff.
Yeah. But I think the ability to adapt and adjust like that I think is important. It's critical for if players and even coaches, if they want to make it right, you got to be able to. The ones that can adapt and adjust are the ones that will make it and be able to create a career for themselves in sports. As a whole. That's persona in the goal, right?
It is.
Man, look at all that hair.
It's hair. We got a couple more questions. Who's got a longer streak in Duolingo, Doug or Chris?
Hey, let's leave this. Let's just say, hey, Kevin Bass, come back after you actually use Duolingo for more than 2 weeks. So there we go, mic drop. Yeah, I'm coming at you, Kevin Bass. Though we're in hiatus, are we still looking to upgrade our roster currently set with? Obviously it's tough for anyone to make moves at the time, but we had to obviously set the roster as we wanted. Going into the season, we would have been about a month and a half into the season already.
Mm-hmm.
Month and 2 weeks or so. So obviously, the players that we had signed through the preseason and were players that Ian and the coaching staff thought that, or I shouldn't say thought, but know that will contribute to the culture and to the goals and development of the organization. So I think that's a tough question to kind of really say, upgrades and things like that. Is that we just want to. The most important thing is to keep our guys as healthy as possible during this time and make sure that we can keep them healthy to play when that time comes, when the league says, all right, you guys are back to training.
It's funny, this game. I mean, you rarely see multiple, passes put together by Galaxy. I mean, they struggled mightily within this one. It's funny. I meant to have. We were talking earlier, a few of us as a front office staff, about if any of these LA guys, because of how young they were, if they've progressed anywhere. I didn't get a chance to look at the roster and see, but not off the top of my head. I'm assuming not off the top of yours either.
Yeah, not that I know of. I think there's a couple senior players on that team, but I can't think of anyone.
Yeah.
Playing in a baseball stadium, is the outfield wall a depth perception issue for players when passing, or is it not a factor? DJ, great question. Actually, you know what the biggest difficulty with a baseball stadium, and it's not just me or Casey, it's actually other coaches in the league, is trying to keep your possession grid straight. It's actually the most difficult thing. Dropping cones for a warm-up, keep them straight, is actually the most challenging task in a baseball stadium. If you don't know the parameters of which the field are set, so that's the most challenging task for a coach. Now, good players are good players are good players, and they're able to hit that pass. If it's a 20-yard pass, 30-yard pass, 10-yard pass, whatever it is, they can execute it. And good players don't use an outfield wall or whatever it is as an excuse. You know, that's not the thing that's making the pass. They're obviously looking for the player, looking for a little bit of space to play the ball into, and good players make it happen no matter what. If there's a wall there, or it's an outfield wall or a regular stadium wall or whatever it is. Oh, I could have found him on that little spin around. I think that was Weehan that spun around there. Is that LaGrossa on it?
Yeah, about a guy like LaGrossa, man. I mean, we were talking about Weehan and Jimmy. LaGrossa's, I think for me, he's probably been one of the surprise figures, if I have to be honest with you. I thought he was a really, really good player in 2017, but I think
he was an interesting player.
Bounds.
Yeah, he was an interesting player. He grew up in Sacramento, so I kind of got to know him. We obviously had him in 2016 in Sacramento. Cal Poly kid, so we watched him a lot. And fun fact that he actually went to the high school that my aunt is a vice principal at. So we had a common connection there. But Matt wasn't getting much time for us in the season, and so we actually put him on loan for 4 games to Tulsa in 2016. And came back, and he actually just absolutely torched it after that. I think it kind of goes back to, all right, given the opportunities, given the environment, is a player willing to take what he learned from that and use that to make him a better player. And Matt definitely did that. And again, you look at a player like Matt, that, he wasn't seeing, a lick of playing time. Then he goes on loan and plays 4 games at Tulsa, comes back, starts to get some time, and then is given an opportunity. Obviously, Ian saw something in him. Was given an opportunity to go play in Reno. Took advantage of that opportunity and continued on. And obviously that's a testament to who he is as a person and as a player, wanting to be better. We got Corinne back in.
Nice.
Let's see. Would you rather have a team with a terrible attitude who always wins, or a team that knows how to play as a team? Oof. Always loses and always wins? I don't know. That's a fair shout. But here's what I'd say is that a team with a great attitude, great culture, will find a way to get results at some point. It might not happen in the first in the first couple weeks. But if you have players or members of an organization that are not that don't have great attitudes, it will at some point cost you. So I think sometimes it's easy to say, okay, why not go out and sign this player or that player, and you're gonna you're gonna win games. Well, that's not guaranteed, because if you can't get 11 players on the same page at the same time, at some point the luck's gonna run out of winning games. So um, I think it's got to be somewhere in the middle. You got to have competitors, but attitude's a big thing, and I think that's so important in the culture that we have in Reno, is that, especially with the group of guys we have this year, each year we've had a fantastic locker room, and this year, some really great attitudes, great leadership, great experience, and impressive hunger from the younger guys. So I think, once we get back to kicking a ball this season, I think a lot of fans will be really, really excited to see the personalities and the characteristics of each individual that comprises roster to really come out, and I think it's a really good representation of what the soccer community is like, and the supporters are like in Reno. A lot of hardworking, enthusiastic individuals that are there for the betterment of the team. So I think there's people on. There's people on what do you call it, Periscope. Hey, if you're watching on Periscope, go over to YouTube. That's where we'll see your comments.
Yeah, and so I've got Twitch open too. So if you're on Twitch, feel free to chat. I can take a look at those, seeing the YouTube comments. If you're watching on Twitter, it doesn't matter. You can tweet at us. We'll keep track. This isn't what we do in normal day life, but
We sign guys. That's a really good question by Kevin. When you sign guys, how do you know if their personality will fit in the locker room? Well, obviously we take guys through a lot. It's not just like, all right, we want this guy, let's sign him. We spend time talking to the guys. We talk to guys that they've played with, former coaches, agents. We talk to almost every person's been in contact with, including talking to the player multiple times.